Hi, friends. I'm Kelly Suding. Thanks for being here. Hopefully, you're able to use the chat. We are currently having some chat, um, situations going on, but we'll get that resolved. So hopefully, you'll be able to put some things in the chat to have conversations, ask some Q&A. So thanks for our first kickoff of the year, the new year for Aiming for Access. And we are so excited to have our friends from Bookshare here talking about how Bookshare aligns with UDL, and you will quickly see it's beautifully aligned for access for every learner. So we are just so excited to have them here. And we'll let them introduce themselves. So just know that if you're unable to, if you have friends who want to watch this or you want to rewatch it and share, all of this is going to be recorded and it'll be archived on our website. And our friend will put that in the chat for all of you to have access to the archived. So before we get started, send it over to Bookshare. I'm going to go over to my friend Michelle, and she's going to do just a quick overview of Universal Design for Learning, the Guidelines 3.0. So with that said, hey, friend.
Hey, y'all, I am so excited, and I promised this would be short and sweet introduction. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Michelle Soriano. I am one of the accessibility specialists at CAST, and just really excited to learn from our good friends at Bookshare. And so thinking about Universal Design for Learning, we know at CAST, we are the founders of Universal Design for Learning, and it's just a constantly ever evolving mindset that we are looking to better design. And so Universal Design for Learning it's an approach. It's the way we think about design. And the goal is that we want to improve and optimize the teaching and the learning for all of our learners, for every single individual. And we do that by looking at how can we set clear, rigorous goals that help us anticipate barriers. So y'all, research tells us that there are predictable barriers. That's why when I was an educator in the classroom, I could tell you every single year, I would have students that would struggle on plot elements. I would have students that didn't understand certain comprehension elements every single year. Those are what we call predictable barriers. And y'all, if they're predictable, then we can proactively design to help minimize those barriers. And that's exactly what the UDL guidelines help us do. So when I say UDL guidelines, poof, what you're looking at right now on this screen, this is what we're talking about. And we know that UDL guidelines 3.0, the latest and greatest version, dropped in July. And the focus and the goal is now really looking at learner agency. How do I help my learners understand what it is that they need in order to engage and learn and take in relevant information for themselves? And we want it to be purposeful. We want it to be reflective. We want it to be authentic to their needs, to their interests, and we want it to be strategic and action oriented. So where does accessibility, where does Bookshare fit into the UDL guidelines? Well, that's what we're exploring today. And if you go back one slide, you'll see that there are three different rows. The first row is the access row, and that focuses on how are we making sure that we are proactively planning to design for accessible environments. As the educator, as a leader of that classroom, I am trying to be proactive in thinking about access for all of my learners. Then you have that second row, and that second row says support. Y'all think about scaffolds, right? This is where we're going to be embedding skills. We want our learners to be able to make meaningful options in the skills that they're using so that they can become, on the third level, really self-sufficient with their executive functions. And that is really how are we building them to have self-understanding and internalize their learning behaviors? How do we make sure that they're understanding the organization of their learning, what it is that they need, what steps do they need, what processes do they need, so that they can internalize that? And so that is like the gist of UDL in a nutshell. I mean, it's just like a one sentence nutshell. But when we look at it more specifically, we can really zone in on where resources and supports like Bookshare will fit into. And so what you're looking at is the designing for multiple means of action and expression. And on that first guideline, interaction, there are two considerations. So if interaction might be a barrier in this learning, you might consider, and you'll look at the one that's circled, it says optimize access to accessible materials and assistive and accessible technologies and tools. Poof, y'all, accessible materials, accessible technologies. This is really where we can link into our good friends and the resources that are provided through Bookshare. So y'all, enough from me, because I am not the meat and potatoes of this presentation. I am now passing it over to our amazing friends at Bookshare, Laura and Vanessa. And I'm not sure if Sarah's here yet, but take it away.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Michelle. I really appreciate the energy that Cast is always bringing to all of these, all these webinars, and we're really, really happy to be here for sure. So my name is Vanessa Lombardo. I'm the Training and Learning Manager here at Bookshare, and I work very closely with Laura. So go ahead, Laura, introduce yourself.
Sure, I'm Laura Ronberg. I'm a program manager. I've been with Bookshare for almost 11 years, and I work pretty intensely with states and districts around the country to help them, understand what Bookshare is and get it implemented in their schools and districts.
Great. Thank you. And thank you, Kelly, for bringing us through. So Laura, let's get right to the learning objective and what we're trying to do today.
Sure. So with this session, we will provide an overview with Bookshare, so you will really understand how you can integrate this really strong, valuable, and free resource into your UDL 3.0 teaching practices.
Awesome. So I wanted to jump right in and really start talking about what is Bookshare. So essentially, really what it is, it's the world's largest accessible ebook collection full of accessible educational materials, and we have over 1 million titles. And every one of those titles are available in various formats because we're really trying to provide information accessibly to students in ways that work for them. And so they can be accessed in audio, they could have highlighted text, they could have text to speech, it could be in Braille or large print. And as Laura mentioned, it is free. So we are funded by the Department of Ed, Office of Special Education Programs. And so anyone in K-12 who is qualified, which we'll talk about in a little bit, has access to the Bookshare collection for free.
And the Bookshare collection. So as Vanessa mentioned, over 1 million titles. That includes textbooks, statewide curriculums, books for assigned and pleasure reading, and all the literature and fiction that students read as they go through school. Bestsellers and award winners. We have the New York Times bestsellers, the American Library Association, all the other major award winners. We have career and technical training materials. Bookshare is not just for K-12, it's for students of any age. So people who are maybe in a vocational education, adult education program, we have materials for them. We have the study guides for, the GED, the SATs, the LSATs, the MCATs, the Dummies series. So it's a really, really varied collection of fiction, nonfiction, bestsellers. So pretty much for anyone. And again, the content is for pre-K, K-12, post-secondary, and then pleasure and leisure reading that people of any age would do. The books are available 24/7. Everything is web-based. So there's, it's not like students lose access at the end of the school day, like some of the other ebook libraries. There's books in over 40 languages. There's no need to check out a book or return it. No limits on how long a student has access to a book. Again, unlike we get asked a lot, how are we different from some of the other digital libraries? So the books are just always available to any student anywhere. Our books they are voiced with the audio that is built into whatever device they're using, and we'll show you a little bit more about that later on. But we do have a new collection of some human narrated titles as well, books for all ages and all genres. So that is the Bookshare collection and what students get access to when they become a Bookshare member.
Awesome. So let's talk about who qualifies, right? This is an amazing resource, but who is eligible? So Bookshare operates under the eligibility criteria to a provision of the US copyright law. So this provision states that any person of any age who is impacted by a visual impairment and they cannot see standard printed material or text on a page, a person who has a reading or a learning barrier and they cannot perceive the text on a standard written page, or someone with a physical limitation that impacts their ability to interact with standard printed materials. Those people are all eligible for the accessible versions of these texts in a repository like Bookshare. So Bookshare is not based on any education law. And as you see there on the slide, and we hear this a lot, this is a question that we get asked very often, an IEP or a 504 plan are not part of the eligibility criteria. You do not need to send them to us. In fact, we do not want anyone to send us IEPs or 504s. It is not part of our process. It really has nothing to do with how Bookshare is structured. It really is around a person of any age who cannot interact with standard printed text due to these barriers that are highlighted in the provision of the copyright law.
Great, thank you. So again, the theme is how does Bookshare fit into the UDL model? And so we've kind of broken down those three sections to make some of those connections. So for multiple means of engagement, which, a part of that is, providing learners with choice on how they want to access their material. Every learner might have a different need or a different preference of how they access material. So Bookshare provides that through the various different format types that are offered, the ways that they can customize the look and feel of the content. They can change the audio, the text, the way the pages are set up and displayed, the color and the contrast. So providing them with tools to read in the ways that work for them will help them be more engaged with the content. Also with that, over the million titles, there's something for everyone, books in all genres. Students, when they are given access to books that interest them, that are maybe a specific relevance to them based on their cultural background or interest they have, they're going to be more likely to read. And for struggling readers who maybe think that they hate reading, when you give them these options, it could really turn around and have them become lifelong learners and readers.
Thanks, Laura. So similarly, the second pillar, multiple means of representation. We know that there's many, many ways to access and display information. So similarly, it's really based on the ideas that learners perceive and process information in different ways, potentially on different days. We all have had days where maybe we're thinking a little more clearly or things are a little easier for us. Potentially on other days, we want to access information in a different way. And so similarly too, this is dependent on their background, their abilities, their language, their culture. And it's important to remember that there's not one single way of representing information. So as Laura mentioned too, on the other slide, the variety of formats, the ability to customize the display, and students really are able to have that versatility. And that, we can provide a variety of accessible content. It promotes decoding of text symbols, and the understanding across languages and different dialects. So there's really a lot of different ways to utilize Bookshare for a student and to make it work for them.
And for the multiple means of action and expression, as Michelle showed earlier, optimizing access to accessible materials and assistive technologies. Bookshare provides both. It's a complete package. We have the content, over those 1 million titles, and we have the Bookshare Reader app that there's a version for web that works for computers and Chromebooks. We have the Bookshare Reader mobile app. So we're providing that free technology for the student to read the Bookshare books. So they don't require any specialized devices to read the books. Again, it's kind of like the complete package of the accessible materials and the assistive and accessible technologies. That combination is really powerful. Bookshare also integrates with other tools. Read and Write extension is a popular one. I know a lot of districts use that as part of their UDL process because that tool in of itself provides an array of literacy support features. You can use it in combination with Bookshare. So it really just does provide all those other ways of engaging with the text, giving students different ways of demonstrating their understanding, by annotating in Read and Write, but just by giving them the content in the format that might work better for them, they're going to master and learn the content that they need for their, for the grade level to advance to the next grade. So that is really, the powerful tool that Bookshare is.
All right, Laura, I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I think we're going to do a quick, very brief Bookshare demo.
Yes.
Bookshare reader demo, I should specify.
Yes, just to give you, let me make sure I share my computer sound. Yeah, to give you just a quick look at what Bookshare is like from the student experience, so you can see what we mean about customizing the look and feel. I am logged into the Bookshare platform as a student who is on their school accounts. Teachers assign books to students through the portal. So I'm a student, I'm told, this is the book I need to read. I log in with my username and password. I can just select that Read Now button, and the book appears in the browser. There's no files to download. I have this settings icon where I can change the audio. So as I mentioned, Bookshare does use the voices built into the device. I'm on a PC. I'm using the Edge browser. Edge has these lines of natural voices that are a lot more lifelike than what has traditionally been in the on the PCs. I can change my audio speed, slower or faster. I can tell it to voice page numbers or image descriptions. Some students maybe just need a larger font due to a visual impairment. They can change the font size, the font type, a variety of fonts, including the open dyslexic font, which some people with dyslexia like. They can change the character spacing, more white space on the page. They can choose their display, paginated or scrolling, adjust the margins, the line spacing, again, sometimes that more white space. And then lastly, the color and contrast, the white background with black text or a dark background with a lighter font or muted colors. Sometimes just changing these simple things really make a difference in how a student engages with the content. So they choose the settings they want. There's a table of contents, and then they can just double click to begin reading.
In the beginning, I wasn't there. I don't think the ancient Greeks were either. Nobody had a pen and paper to take notes, so I can't vouch.
So as you can see, it is highlighting the sentence and the word as it's spoken. Sometimes there's a little bit of delay over Zoom, but it's perfectly in sync. So that is just a quick example of what a student's experience is like of reading a book. If they would like to download a file and say they have a specialized assistive technology device that they're using, such as a Braille note taker, they can download the appropriate file format to their computer and transfer it. So, for students who read in Braille, there's not a lot of options out there. When they're relying on the traditional hard copy Braille, but with Bookshare, every one of those million titles can be easily downloaded as Braille, as a Word document, different file formats for specific assistive technology devices. So super flexible, and the student can read in the ways that, that work for them.
Awesome. Thanks, Laura. There's a couple of questions in the chat. I know we have a few resources and a couple other things that we want to do in our time here. And thank you, Sarah, for helping us with the chat. And Kelly, I appreciate that too. One of the questions was about requesting a book in the collection. So let's say there is not the exact title that you want. You can request it. And again, thanks, Kelly, for putting the link in there. And so we do have a collection development team. There was a question about how long that would take. And exactly, Sarah said that, it could take as little as a few days or a few weeks. It really depends on our relationship with the publisher. How do we acquire the book? As Sarah said, but that is a question that we get a lot. And then Laura, could you speak to the Bookshare Reader app? There was a question, of course, we have the web browser, right, that will work on any device that has internet access, as obviously you just demoed, but could you just talk very briefly about the Bookshare app for iOS and for Android?
Right. Yeah. So the Bookshare Reader for web, computer and Chromebooks, and the iOS and Android device, it's free. It looks very similar to what I showed you on the web browser. Similar interface, the ability to adjust the settings. What's great about the app is, the voices that are on our smartphones are better than typically what is built into our computers and Chromebooks. I have an iPhone, and when I open the Bookshare Reader app, I think there's like 50 different voices to choose from. Apple makes some premium and enhanced voices that you can download for free through the accessibility features built into the phone. Android phones have similar. Using it with Read and Write, you can use the voices that are built into that toolbar. So that's our Bookshare Reader app. I think those are free. That's what we provide. There are some third-party apps that we work with that also work with Bookshare. Voice Dream Reader, Dolphin Easy Reader is a free mobile app that integrates seamlessly with Bookshare. So a student just logs into the app on their mobile device directly, and they pull up, they see their assigned books, they see their book history. And then for students, Braille note takers, the refreshable Braille displays, they download the files and get it on them. So a really lots of options of how someone might read. And as Vanessa mentioned, one day a student might need to listen to their book. Maybe they're going on a car trip with their family, and but they have to read, they've been assigned, a couple chapters of a book. They can listen. Maybe some days their eyes are more tired, or their concentration isn't great to like look and read at the text on the screen. They can listen. Sometimes maybe they just want the large print. It might change from day to day. And it's just, they have, thousands of different options and color combinations and display settings to access that. But what's great about our Bookshare Reader is that student just hits that Read Now button. It opens in the browser, no files to download, and unzip and extract. It's just there. Doesn't take up. It's not downloading anything to their machines, which in some school districts you're not allowed to download files. So that is, very easy to do. And then our Bookshare Reader mobile app, you find it in the iOS store or the Google Play store. You just search on Bookshare. And then you'll look for, if you can see on my background, the Bookshare with the fan icon, it looks like that. It's a blue app, because some of the other apps that work with Bookshare do come up when you search Bookshare. But you can find it there. And again, it's free. It's still, it's on the newer side. We're still making updates and improvements to it over time as well.
That's great. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Laura. And I see so many questions in the chat. We really appreciate it. Sarah, you put your email, and we're going to get to contact us in a little bit too. But I do want to just talk a couple minutes more about some of the other resources, and then we can pop back into the chat and answer as many questions as we can, or, we can certainly please reach out to us, as time goes on. So a couple of things that are new. So of course, we talked about the Bookshare Reader. For anyone who had used it in the past, it's new-ish. It's about a year and a half that we totally revamped it, and really took a lot of the feedback that users and educators had, thinking about making it more streamlined and a simpler, easier interface to use. But one of the other things that we did do is we did make some changes to the Bookshare website itself, to the CMS. So this is a two-part process. This is the front-facing part that has been revamped. And then secondly, and what Laura showed, the app itself will be reinstated next year as well, or updated, I should say. So one of the biggest things, and we hear this a lot as well, is finding the information that you need, right? So you want to use Bookshare, you have some questions, and so where can we find that information? So we revamped our Help and Learning Center. All of these links are in the PowerPoint, but like I said, I did just kind of want to go through. So you can easily search through the Help and Learning Center for a topic that you're looking for, but we really try to elevate the questions that we hear that are frequently asked and really provide that information in a very easy and discoverable way. So we've provided some of that information as well. And then we grouped information by topic, again, to kind of say, well, if you're looking at how to read books, maybe you have a few other questions in regard to that, finding books, etc. So we did that as well. And then we have our featured learning articles. And one of the biggest ones that we have heard is very helpful for educators is our ABCs of Bookshare for educators. The programs team, Laura, really spearheaded this effort, really thinking about breaking it down for educators. So, of course, you as someone who is interested and then sharing it with your colleagues as well. So it goes through some of the information that we have shared here today and really being able to process that information in an easy way, right? So signing up your school, finding and assigning books, some of the questions, again, that we see in the chat. So that ABCs for Bookshare for educators is very helpful. And then again, our Bookshare reader, we want to make sure that people have easy access. The Bookshare reader is free, as Laura mentioned. And then, of course, I think I saw in the chat someone had a question about the iOS store. So the links are right there. Again, the links are on the PowerPoint as well. Just giving a little more information regarding that. And then our partner tools. We really appreciate all the partners that have worked with us for a number of years. And we know that students and schools are using a variety of different tools for different reasons. And again, that goes back to that UDL and really giving as much choice and options and making it work for the student. So here's some information regarding some of those tools that are available as well. The very last thing that we wanted to mention, so in an effort to really think about, as we said in the very beginning, right, Bookshare is based on the copyright law. It's intended to give accessible educational materials to students and adults who qualify. And so in that effort to really spread this information around AEM as well from people who are coming through Bookshare is we partnered with the Iris Center at Vanderbilt University to create a course that talks about AEM and why is it beneficial? And then how does Bookshare provide that information? And the great thing, of course, about this is that there are continuing education credits available through the Iris Center. So we really like to highlight this. Again, this is open to anyone who is working in a school and does need those continuing education credits. They are free. And so it's a really nice opportunity. And it was really great to work with the Iris Center at Vanderbilt. They really were a pleasure. So here's some contact us information. So Laura, Sarah, myself, we're going to put our emails in the chat as well. We also do have a very robust customer support system and team. They can be reached at support@bookshare.org. And so if you do have questions, certainly you can reach out to them either via email or phone, whatever works best for you. But again, if you have specific questions, certainly for the three of us, we are happy to take those. We also would love, of course, in our effort to always improve, we do have a very short survey. It is 5 questions. We are intending to think about, the types of the types of training and resources that we are providing. And so that would be wonderful if you wouldn't mind doing that. And then lastly, Sarah is going to put in the chat, if you would like to receive emails from Bookshare, if you would like to opt in and receive emails around information for sponsors, information for parents, when things are new, when things change, we're going to put that link in the chat as well. So if you would like to opt in, please go ahead and do that. But I would like to open it up. I know we only have a minute or so left, but would be happy to take any additional questions that anyone has.
I did see one in the chat. Someone asked, how do you tell if the book is human narrated? And when you pull up, if you do a search and you the ones that are human narrated, they have like a speech bubble icon. then that's how you know. Let's see if I can share my screen real quickly. I was able to pull it up. You can also, in our advanced search page, there's a books to search field, and you could say human narrated, but it under features, it will have this little speech bubble for books that have audio descriptions. So that would have an audible audio description of an image. It will say AD, you know, kind of the universal sign for audio description. If it has an image, it has the little icon like for a picture that you frequently see on websites. So that is found under the features icon, but on the advanced search page, under books to search, where you can also find freely available books, you can find the human narrated books there. So just wanted to address that.
Wonderful. All right, Kelly and the cast team, we will pass it back over to you.
This was amazing. Of course, we had expected just this. I will say that Sarah is a rock star for getting in the chat and answering all those questions. We're so grateful to the Bookshare team for being here. If you have any questions about their contact information is in the chat. You also have the option to save the chat as well if you want to have that resource. I've already saved it, and we'll try to upload that with the archived. That will be on our webpage. So we look forward to continuing our Aiming for Access. Again, look for that archived recording and share with everyone. And so we're here to support you in any way. So happy Friday Eve.
Whoop, and y'all sign up for that email. I'm signing up. Are you? Sign up.